Hello everyone. Today I'll be giving a speech about a subject that is very relevant here in the US. Can you guess what it is? Well, that's right. It's gun violence, or guns in general. Now, there are two sides to this argument. You're either gun control supportive or non-gun control supportive. Now, I support the first side. Why? Well, guns have been a big issue in the US. 3/4 of the murders in the US, which are, according to BBC News, according to an article written by the BBC News, in the 8th of April, it's around 14,000 murders. Now, let's compare that to Wales and England, which they only have 4%. Now, can you guess the amount of guns per 100 people in the US? Well, it's 125 guns per 100 people. Now, for example, in Yemen, and it's a country that's going through a crisis, it's only 52.8. And on a good side, Indonesia has 0 guns per 100 people. They banned the civilians from carrying firearms. Now I have a question. Why are civilians in the US allowed to carry that much guns? Well, most people would say it's their right now, and then they fall back on the Second Amendment. Now let's talk about the Second Amendment for a second. Why was it written? The Second Amendment was written for militias, allowing them to arm themselves when the country was just being made. So it was extremely dangerous. But now we live in a first world country and we are extremely safe. Why are we allowed to carry high round magazines and assault rifles and military grade weapons for that in that case? Now I'm going to be talking about the inherency in this subject. Gun control laws are a wedge issue. There's no middle ground. It's either you support this side or this side. Now in this argument, there's no good and bad. Each side wants the best for the US, and that's by either lowering gun violence or just deleting guns at all. But that's not going to happen. Now, each side it's up to us now to figure out which side has the better advantages. I side with the gun control laws side. Why? Because it worked before. Now, let's say when President Ronald Reagan and Jim Brady have been almost assassinated, they passed a law back in 1993 which banned assault weapons. Now, there's also another law which has been passed after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, which was the gun control of 1968. Now, what are the advantages of increasing gun control? Now, I'm gonna start by listing some. Now, more gun control reduces gun deaths. Well, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? Secondly, less rounds. If we allow people to carry less rounds, that stops weapons from turning from self-defense weapons into mass murdering weapons. Like, let's say, why are we allowed to carry a 75 round mag? Nobody needs that much. One bullet is enough to defend yourself. Now, do you know how many people have actually used their weapon for self-defense in the last year? Out of 30 million crimes, only 0.9% used the gun that he had for self-control. Now, and as I'm going to repeat, civilians shouldn't be allowed to carry military-grade equipment. Hopefully, by increasing the control upon guns, we could lower gun violence. Now, one side argues that there's already 20,000 laws passed, and by increasing any more laws, we'll only be making the issue more pressing. People will start fighting back. Now, the other side argues that these laws are only local and state laws and have barely any effect. And even if they were gone, the damages would be very minimal. Thank you, and have a good night.